Delighted to be here at the Tomago Aluminium Smelter near Newcastle with Matt Howell, the CEO of Tomago Aluminium. This facility, this business, like so many around Australia, depends for its existence, for its success, for its competitiveness on affordable, reliable power. And I've been hearing this morning about how crucial it is that we continue to see downward pressure on electricity prices that's necessary to keep businesses like this sustainable and employing so many people here in Australia. This facility employs directly 1,100 people, 1,800 people's jobs are supported across the region. It is absolutely essential that we continue to drive down the price of electricity in this country, that we drive supply up, we get the access we need to affordable, reliable electricity to keep Australian businesses, large and small, and Australian families in the place with the prices they deserve. Matt, you might want to say a few words about this business.
Thanks very much, Minister, and I appreciate the Minister coming down. Do you want me to stand here? Okay. Righto. Is that good? Yeah. Thanks very much, Minister, and we appreciate the Minister coming down to see what life on the ground at the largest energy user in the country is really like. Here, our success depends on getting affordable, reliable electricity that's on 24/7, 7 days a week, night and day. It is a fact that the energy system is transitioning. We are seeing more wind and solar come into the mix, but the fact is that the wind
Okay, so we apologise for that. We do appear to have lost our signal from Newcastle. There are some signs of it coming back. Let's chance our arm and go back to that Tomago.
So that is clearly not a solution. So we're certainly calling for continued transitionary investment in baseload thermal production to keep this large world-scale smelter and the 1,800 jobs that it supports viable into the years to come.
Very good. Thanks, Matt. Thank you for that. Now, let me make a couple of comments about Labor's policy announcement this morning. Firstly, it seems to me, when it comes to batteries, that Labor has not learnt the lessons of the pink bats fiasco. Labor is going from pink bats to pink batteries. If all of the Bill's batteries were installed, it would keep this smelter, this business going for less than 15 minutes. We need a supply of reliable, affordable electricity, a supply of secure electricity that can keep the lights on, that can keep businesses like this ticking over, facilities like this ticking over, that people like Matt know they can rely on. With that in mind, we've said we'll have a pipeline of affordable, reliable supply through new projects in place, a short list of projects by early next year. And we're working closely with businesses like this to make sure we have those projects and that they will drive down the price of electricity for large customers like this one, as well as small businesses and hard-working families across Australia. I also want to make a comment about Labor's targets. They've recommitted today to a 45% emissions reduction target and a 50% renewable energy target. At the end of the day, the targets drive the outcomes. And if Labor is committed to those targets, they need to explain which businesses are going out of business in Australia. Many of our most successful businesses are energy intensive. They rely on that affordable, reliable power, which those targets will not allow to continue. They need to explain which cattle, how many cattle are going to go. They need to explain which aluminium smelters and refineries are going to shut. They need to explain which fertiliser factories, which cement factories are going to shut. The truth is that these targets, these reckless targets, will be a wrecking ball through the economy. We won't stand for it. we are determined to bring supply of 24/7 reliable dispatchable power into the system as quickly as possible, a short list of projects from early next year. Our broader strategy is already paying dividends. We've seen AGL come forward with 10% price reductions for standing offer customers from January 1 this year, both in New South Wales and Victoria. Any questions?
What specific impact will this policy on workers will have on workers in manufacturing and agriculture?
When you say this,
the policy from Labor.
For the policy from Labor. Well, this is a very good question, because if you have a 45% emissions reduction target and a 50% renewable energy target, then you have to take out businesses, factories, trucks, cattle in order to meet those targets. And Labor hasn't come clean with the full impact of what they're doing. We've seen the Climate Change Authority a number of years back estimate that this kind of target would require a carbon tax 5 times the size of Labor's past carbon tax. This is carbon tax 2.0 necessary in order to drive the reduction in activity, to drive businesses out of business in order to get those emission reductions. Labor have hard questions to answer. They haven't answered those in their policy. These reckless targets will be a wrecking ball through the economy.
You say the modelling will be a wrecking ball. What independent experts have said this?
Well, it's just straight maths. If you want to halve the emissions out of the electricity grid, if you want to have 50% renewable energy targets, if you want to have 45% emission reduction targets, you've got to take out activity that emits. And the activity that emits is agriculture, it's industry, it's transport, and it's smelters like this one. This is the biggest electricity user in Australia. The biggest electricity user in Australia. And with targets like that, it is hard to see how businesses like this will survive.
By doing this, Labor is adopting the Turnbull government's national energy policy. How do you guys criticise that when it's a policy of your own party?
Well, they're not. Their target is a 45% emissions reduction target and a 50% renewable energy target. We have never adopted those targets, and we would never adopt those targets. They are reckless, and they'll be a wrecking ball through the economy.
This policy, the NEG, was designed by the current Treasurer and defended by the Prime Minister. Will you campaign against
Well, that's not Labor's policy. Labor's policy is a 45% emissions reduction target, a 50% renewable energy target, with a few batteries that will keep this facility going for less than 15 minutes. I mean, the truth is that these are reckless policies, and Labor will need to explain to every farmer, to every truck driver, to every factory worker, to every worker that works here at Tomago, to every worker that works at every other energy-intensive business in Australia, how they are going to keep their jobs. Well, we saw a press release come out from Mark Butler today saying they're not going to keep their jobs. They're going to try to retrain them. Well, you know, people who work in these businesses want to keep their jobs. Farmers want to keep their jobs. They want to keep their cattle. Truck drivers want to keep their jobs. Labor needs to explain how it's going to reach those targets without putting a wrecking ball through the economy, and the answer is they can't.
Well, obviously, Mr. Shorten says household batteries will cut power prices by 60%. If he's wrong, what independent experts dispute it?
Well, the numbers are really simple. Bill Shorten has said they'll pay $2,000 when the consumer pays $8,000. So the consumer's still paying the lion's share of the cost. But the broader issue here is we have a big challenge in our electricity market, the national electricity market, in the coming years. And the challenge is, with an enormous amount of intermittency coming in, with unprecedented investment in wind and solar, keeping the lights on. And that requires retaining our reliable, affordable, baseload dispatchable power in the system. That's why early next year we will have a short list of projects which will be some combination of coal, gas and hydro to keep the lights on and to keep prices down.
What sort of renewable energy will the Liberal government be looking at? What sort of renewable energy will the Liberal government be looking at? Well,
we have an enormous amount of renewable energy coming into the system right now. 10 gigawatts of new capacity in the next 3 years. We'll go from 7.5 terawatt hours to 44.5 terawatt hours in the next 3 years. So our challenge is not that. Our challenge is how we keep the lights on and keep prices down. That's why we're committed to a short list of projects that are dispatchable, that are 24/7, where the power is delivered when customers need to turn the lights on, power that can be delivered to businesses, smelters like this one, where 1,800 people depend on this business continuing, this business thriving for their jobs.
So that's basically coal-fired power.
Well, I've said what sources of power. I mean, we've said by early next year we will have a pipeline, a short list of projects that will include gas, coal, hydro, dispatchable power. We need dispatchable 24/7 power in large quantities to keep the lights on and to keep factories like this one, to keep smelters like this one in business. That's absolutely crucial, and we're determined to do it. Any other questions? What's that?
We harness some of this wind.
Well, we have 10 gigawatts of renewable wind and solar coming into the system. Our challenge now is to make sure we have enough of that baseload dispatchable power, 24/7 power in the system to keep the lights on, keep factories going, and to make sure that the great people who live and work in businesses like this one can continue to work in businesses like this one. Thank you.